Good evening, humanities students. So I'm making this video so that us teachers can share with you how to open up your evidence so that you can complete your summative organizer. So you're going to need to open four things. The first things you're going to need to open are your formatives. So from General Channel, find your assignment tab. So you see summative organizer, formative 3, formative 2. So you're going to have to load previous and then scroll down and you'll see formative 1, formative 2, formative 3. You want to open all of these online. That way you can easily access the evidence and explanations that you've provided already within these formatives. And I made a mistake and did it in Teams, so I'm going to close. And then here we go, open in PowerPoint Online. Okay, so it opened on my second monitor, so I'm going to show you here. Here it is open. And what I'm going to do is up here, I'm just going to minimize it. Now I'm going to go back to formative 2. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open it in PowerPoint Online. Once it opens, I can minimize again, go back, and then open formative 3 online. And I'm going to also open this in PowerPoint Online. So formative 1, we had this chart that we filled in using the 3 resources here. Formative 2 was all about writing and how agriculture developed writing. So this was the chart we filled in. And then these were our resources. And then finally, formative 3, we had a discussion around this graph and around this source. And then we answered questions in here related to the Old and New Stone Age. From all this, we were able to hopefully decide on whether we thought agriculture was good for humans or not. Now we're going to open our summative organizer, and we're going to open this in Teams. Okay. And the reason why I'm opening it in Teams so I can split screen between the organizer and my formatives that I have open online. So before I can do anything, I have to make sure I can edit in the presentation. So here I have the summative task argument chart. It's 2 slides. Okay, you can see there's some stuff in here. So I'm just going to erase all this. Okay, so that this is what it looks like. Okay, so it's blank. This is what it looks like for you. Then reduce the size here. I'm going to minimize my Teams page. I'm going to come down here to my Explorer, which is right here, and click on that so I can see all 3 formatives. And I'm just trying to move this up for you. So you can, well, you can't see them, but they're up here. The 3 tabs are open online. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to minimize these and return back to my summative task. So here it's asking me my initial claim. This is the answer to the question that you must decide, was agriculture good for humans or not? I'm going to take the side that I believe, for an example, I believe that agriculture was good for humans. And you're just going to type it in here. The next step is, what evidence do you have from the sources you investigated? make sure to cite your sources. So in the criteria list, I know that we want 2 sources. So I'm just going to put a 1 down here. I'm going to put 2. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start looking through my formatives to find out what kind of evidence I have that supports agriculture was good for humans. I'm going to minimize this PowerPoint and I'm going to go to my Explorer, okay, which you can see when I hover over it. There it is. I'm going to pop it open. I'm going to start with formative 1. Here, as a reminder, these are our sources. So I'm going to look at this chart. It doesn't really tell me too much about being good for agriculture. So I'm just going to look through the sources. Here I see Neolithic innovations in Mesopotamia. I can't quite read it, so I'm going to make it bigger. So down here, there's a number percent. You click on the number percent, choose 100 and OK, and it makes it bigger for you so you can read it better. So what I'm seeing here is that there is a tool, animals, some plants and animals, another tool and some animals. So we're seeing a lot of different food resources as well as tools to gather those food resources. So to me, that looks like a good thing for agriculture. We've got a lot of new stuff happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, my summative task argument, and I'm going to say this is formative 1, source A, and I see there's a variety of food resources and tools to gather the resources. So I need one more piece of evidence at least. We can do a third one down here as optional, but I'm just going to show you how to get the positives or negatives from your evidence that you've gathered. So now that I have that, I'm going to minimize. I'm going to go back in here. I'm looking at this one. It's just about temperature. That has nothing really to do with agriculture. We know temperatures, increased temperatures help agriculture, but is it good for humans? We can't really tell. And then we have some tools here that just help us do our job in agriculture. So not much more informative 1. So formative 2, I'm going to go back in and I see that this is the organizer that we did. So we have a lot of information here. And I'm going to review the sources. Once again, to make it bigger, click the percent to 100. And I'm going to skim over what I already read previously. Counting stones, New Stone Age, so this is definitely during farming. Hunters, gatherers starting to become farmers. Farming allowed people to produce more food than they could actually eat. The extra food provided agriculture meant people did not have to spend their time gathering food. They could spend their time making other things such as clothes, jewelry, and pottery. Well, that seems pretty good to me. I don't have to always farm. So what I want to do, I want to get most of this idea in. I'm going to say farming allowed people extra food, meant they didn't spend their time gathering, and it allowed them to do these things. That's a lot, but initially I want to copy this, and then I'm going to go back to my summative organizer. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to paste text only, because I do want to take some of this out. So farming allowed people to produce more food than they could eat. And then this meant, so I'm going to take this out, delete, and do ... called an ellipse, and that some people now have to spend their time gathering food. They could spend their time making other things, clothes, jewelry, pottery. Excellent. Now, I'm not really feeling too much about diving into the formative task anymore, so I'm going to skip the optional part. However, if you are the student who wants to include that extra piece of evidence, you're just going to go back into your summatives, your formatives, and find something else that's good. All right. So I remember this tablet was all about writing. Okay. So Sumerians began using writing, and it's moving around on me. So Sumerians began using writing for tokens. Okay, and copy this. Come back to my formative, the PowerPoint. Put it in here. Okay, and I also know there's more to it than this, so I'm going to come back. Then they made symbols in clay, so I'm going to copy that. Come back to the PowerPoint. Put a comma in there. And then I'm going to put in that. Then I'm going to come back to the summative because I know there's one last bit of information. That means this new style of writing became known as cuneiform. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, come back to my summative, put it in here. Okay, so now I have Sumerians began using tokens, made symbols that represented tokens in clay, and then there was this is new style of writing. And don't forget, this is from formative 2, source C. Now, it makes me remember, I forgot to put that up here. So let's figure out farming allowed more people. So I know that was in the same formative, so let's go back and get what source we pulled it from. I believe it was this one. Yes. So they could spend more time making clothes. So this is source A. So we're going to come back, make sure that we cite our source, formative 2, source A. Okay, so now we know where we got our information from. So you have 2 pieces of evidence, the requirement, plus 1 extra, which you don't have to do, but it's helpful. Now we're going to go to the second slide, which is double check. And I can't quite read that, so I'm going to make it bigger. There we go, much easier to see. What ideas from the sources contradict or go against what you claim? So what within this source is points to agriculture not being good for humans? And I clearly remember, because it really interested me, that there was a graph about diseases. So I'm going to go find that. So I'm going to go open my formatives. It wasn't in here because the last one here was tablet, so it must be in formative 3. So here's a graph on word population, but then I look over here and I see another chart. So let me see. Okay, so this says chart illustrate changes over time, hunter-gatherer to agriculture or farmers. Chart indicates when agriculture first appeared. Oh, and here it is, when the first diseases, pandemics, and first famine appeared. So I'm going to copy this because that's the information I want that goes against agriculture being good. Go back to my PowerPoint, and this is formative 3, source C. And I'm going to paste what I have in there and then just make sure I understand it. So when the first diseases and pandemics. Okay, so I forgot something. What's so important about when these first diseases and pandemics occurred? Let's go back. Here we go. So, oh, here it is. The chart indicates when agriculture first appeared in human culture. So we'll make sure we keep that in there because it completes the thought. Copy and go back to our PowerPoint and put it in at the beginning so that we understand why it's important to note the first disease and pandemics. And then down here, you have your conclusion. And I'm going to say, although there is a point that indicates agriculture is not good for humans, I have shown how overall agriculture is beneficial. Beneficial to humans. Beneficial meaning good. Then you want to take this information that you have and you're going to turn it into a rough draft. So I'm going to minimize this because it's the chart. Don't need these formatives anymore because we've cited our sources.